Stop gaslighting your inner child. What do I mean by that? Watch this video. Hello guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new, please click the subscribe button, the bell to receive notifications when I release new videos. And if you've been with me for a while, thank you so much and welcome back. You may notice my red today. I am really focused on the root chakra. The root chakra is developed before the age of 7. And if you've taken any of my courses, you know that our emotional imprint is also created before the age of 8. So I talk about gaslighting your inner child and root chakra together, and this is why. When our root chakra, which is basically our security, our foundation, our survival, really what we should feel safe and confident in the home. When we have a dysfunctional home, the root chakra is broken. It is unbalanced, I should say, not broken, but in my opinion, it kind of feels the same way. When I was a child, I'll share this with you guys. I could not wear the color red because I would say it would hurt me. So what does that tell you? Foundation, not so safe, not so secure. What's interesting is we always do to ourselves what was done to us in childhood until we heal our inner child. And so a lot of times I'll see in my coaching sessions, a lot of my clients will be gaslighting their inner child without even knowing about it. So I want to talk about this here. To gaslight our inner child is to do what I call a bypass. Sometimes I will call it a spiritual bypass. And what it means is we're bypassing the pain the inner child experienced because now we intellectually know better. A good example of this is, well, I know my dad had trauma, so of course he traumatized me. Or my mom's going through a hard time, so of course she's mean to me. I don't give a shit if they were traumatized or had a bad day. The fact is, the inner child needs to be validated exactly in its experience, whether you have done an adult bypass, because you know better now, intellectually. The emotional world does not catch up to the intellectual world until we do the inner child work. This is why so many people come to me and say, why did all this therapy not work until now? And I say, because therapy was never integrating your inner child. It was talk therapy. It was talking about what happened. Of course, we understand all day long. So we understand all day long and we can differentiate things, right? We can live differently because we understand, but the inner child is still going to be there triggered. Shame's going to come up. It's not emotionally healed until we integrate the two. And so the biggest question people come to me with is, how the hell do I do that? I've been talking a lot lately about knowing your truth versus your trauma. It's very hard to live in your truth unless you've healed the trauma. So let's talk about this. What does the root chakra really represent? Safety, security, feeling connected to self. When it's in balance, we feel unsafe, insecure, and not connected to self, God, anyone else. So we need to do this. We just stop gaslighting our inner child to heal our root chakra, to feel secure and safe and connected. We must stop gaslighting, and you don't even know you're doing it. I'm not going to blame you. And I'm going to keep saying don't blame yourself because it's one of the biggest issues we have regarding the root chakra. We're all in self-blame for what happened. It was never your fault. You were a kid, that you were innocent. But now you're doing it to yourself. You're doing it to your inner child. We do to our inner child what was done to us as a child, right? Take that in. We do to our inner child what was done to us as a child. So I just had this group I was coaching this morning. And we were talking about how, all these excuses come up. I know my mom did that. And I'm like, no, here's the thing. In my shadow work course, you'll understand my wounds, my mother wounds come from my mother's wounding. Because so many of our parents were in denial, they can't really tell you what happened to them. Instead, because they haven't done the inner work, they just project that onto you. This is what I mean. Hurt people hurt people. So when your parents were wounded and had to adopt a false self, which says, my family's perfect, I have to be this way to get along with them. Instead of seeing what's wrong with them so I can be my authentic self, I'll just adopt a false self. And then when you're your authentic self, I'm totally triggered by you because you're reminding me of the thing that I denied so long ago. Rewind that if you have to, right? So that's what we do to ourselves until we understand the shadow work. We gaslight our inner child, which means Let me give you an example. Let's pretend I grew up with huge rejection wounds because I was rejected by my mother. Well, when I do my shadow work, I'll start to realize that she was rejected by her family too, but because she's in denial of it, something inside of her is very triggered by me when I love myself, when I'm in my power. This takes a long time to get to. I'm just giving you an example. So because I know that, this is an example, but let's say because I understand that, I'm going to stop rejecting myself. I'm going to empower myself. What one of my clients told me earlier this morning is, Candace, I'll feel like I'll be totally disowned if I'm in my power. And I said, stop right there and think about what you just said. If I'm in my power and I love myself and I believe in myself, my parents will disown me. That just told me the core wound. If I'm in my power and I'm in my truth, root chakra. If I'm in my truth, I will get disowned. Therefore, it's safer for me to disown my own truth and then have a root chakra issue, which is no security, no safety, and complete disconnect from self. When we abandon our truth to survive our family, we learn to constantly abandon our truth. And anytime we're about to shine, we freak out in fear because we're going to go against our survival instinct of needing to belong. Therefore, I will abandon my truth. How many of you, especially highly sensitive people, are relating to this right now? If I don't abandon my truth, I will not survive. What happens as you start to do the inner work is you start to realize if I continue to abandon myself to belong, I'm not really belonging to things that are resonating with my authentic self anyway. So I might as well stop abandoning my truth so I can belong to self, be connected to self, feel secure in self and safe in self. And then the people who are healthy will show up. If you're not belonging to a dysfunctional system, good for you. However, you didn't have a choice when you were a kid. You had to belong to the dysfunction to survive. So you created upper limit issues. You stopped shining. You started hiding. You put a lot of your shit in the shadow so that you weren't a threat to the dysfunctional system, because anything super healthy is a threat to anything unhealthy, because then you highlight their unhealth, dis-ease, and what happens is you get scapegoated. You are the scapegoat child. You are the black sheep because you saw the truth and you said it and you got in trouble. So now owning my truth makes me not belong. I better just disown myself. Root chakra issue. I'm building a course right now about healing the inner child through healing the chakras. You might want to check it out because every single chakra is in alignment with a wound. And when they're out of balance, we can go right back to the original wound, the source of what happened, instead of just what happened today. It's not deep enough. You got to go back to the original wound. So for the point of this video, stop gaslighting your inner child. How do I do that? You're right. This did happen to me. This did feel scary. This was awful and not okay. When I told one of my clients in the group this morning, it was never your fault that you were treated that way, he had a really hard time processing it, even talking about it. He started to cry. He said, why does it make me so sad when you say that? Because it's resonating with truth and it's finally validating the inner child that you've been unfortunately and unconsciously gaslighting for 52 years. You can change and heal at any time. You can change and heal by owning your truth, getting real about how you feel so you can heal, and stop gaslighting yourself. Stop saying that didn't happen. I know better now. Say that did in fact happen, and I do know better now, but that did in fact happen. When we override it and we do a bypass, we're invalidating this experience of the inner child, whether it was perceived or real, doesn't matter. My experience was I had a tragic childhood. Now, people will come to you like your parents and say, no, you didn't, you're making it up. I don't give a shit. My experience is this. And if you can own your experience, your emotional experience, and heal yourself back and say, I forgive myself for buying into the misbelief of thinking that their behavior was ever my fault, that thinking that I don't deserve to own the pain I went through. The truth is, I'm going to own it now, and I also know better. So I don't have to sit in it and stew in it and freak out about it, but I do have to validate and acknowledge it and stop gaslighting it. Gaslighting means saying something that happened didn't happen. Yes, it did. It happened, and that's how we free ourselves so that the inner child can mature into the adult that we are. Your inner child will stay stuck until you validate its experiences and have it integrated with your today reality. If you don't integrate it by validating it, it will hold you back. It will get massively triggered. It will be screaming at you, and it will stay separate. Root chakra unbalance. If your inner child stays separate from you and does not integrate because of lack of validation of his experience, you will have imbalances in your root chakra. More on this soon. If you guys like this video, please make sure to share it. Please subscribe. I welcome any and all comments below. Don't forget, this course will be out in the next month or so you may want to get on my mailing list, which is also below. Just go right to my email. There are so many things happening right now, so if you are into this work, please go to my website and see the inner work program that is now open. Emotional rehab is closing soon. Shadow work is about to go. So check it out. If you want some boundaries work, the Boundaries Bootcamp. It's now happening. So check out everything below. Come say hi to me on Instagram if you have Instagram. I've just started TikTok. So we're starting all this stuff to stay connected in our amazing, continuous growing community that I could not be more proud of. So love you guys. Thank you so much for watching and for being such a support. And I'll see you next week.